All right. Well, thank you all for being here this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about social engineering and stuff, right? First of all, I do have to say that my slides are in widescreen, but these projectors are kind of being a little funky here. On the plus side, it makes me look skinny. So I'll take that one, right? Let's get started here, though. I worked with Know before. We do a lot of security awareness training, things like that, simulated phishing platform, lots of fun stuff. We see a lot of scams, a lot of stuff going on all the time. Our chief hacking officer is a guy, some of you may have heard of him, Kevin Mitnick. He's fairly well known in the social engineering side of the house there. And me, I'm a CISSP, been in IT since the mid-90s or so. And on that picture, they even got the gray in my beard right. I kind of like what they did up there on that original caricature there. But I've been in the IT for quite some time. I was the security manager at the 2nd Regional Cyber Center Western Hemisphere, which is a terrible name for an Army organization. There's no acronym for that, so we had to answer the phone like that every time, which really sucked. But I've been around since the old Wildcat BBS days and FidoNet. Does anyone here remember those? Having to pick your download Z modem or X modem or Kermit protocols, right? That was back in the old days. So I give you a little idea how old I am. But I've been in a lot of different sectors, dealt with a lot of different things. And social engineering is something that pretty much impacted all of them across the board, okay? We're seeing the headlines now. We're seeing them all over the place. It seems like every day, every week, there are more social engineering headlines out there. Somebody's getting scammed, W-2 scam, CEO fraud, all of those sorts of things, right? Now, the stats show that 91% of breaches start with a spear phishing attack. It's the social engineering piece that's coming in through the spear phishing that's doing it. And this includes everything from the CEO fraud, or as the FBI likes to call it, business email compromise, or the W-2 scams, and even ransomware, everybody's favorite right now, right? So we're going to talk about a couple of these. Don't have a whole lot of time to go super in-depth. I'm happy to talk to anyone after this, but we're going to have a little fun with this too. The in-person stuff. This is my personal favorite. Most social engineering exploits deal with some sort of an emotional pull, right? Either you're happy, you're sad, you're worried, or it's just awkward. Now, I'm a connoisseur of the awkward. I have 3 children. I love to make it really weird for them. It's just a side thing I do, right? So when I saw this, it just made me think of it, right? So this is a social engineering deal. This is from White Collar. Guys trying to get in here, they had a radio show broadcasting, right? So yeah, I ran out of hands. My card's in my pocket there if you just want to grab that, right? And yeah, don't worry about that. I thought this was classic. That's the classic awkward thing, right? Make it weird. Actually, I'll back that up. I'll tell you a little story about myself and some of the things that I've done. Just off-the-wall social engineering. And social engineering is kind of one of those things that we do every day and don't even realize it. If you have kids, your kids do that constantly, and you may even realize it. But there was a time, actually, I do a lot of photography and stuff on the side. It's kind of a fun deal of mine. And there was a big wildfire in Arizona. And I was heading out there. I mean, I was just me, myself, and I'm in the car, and I'm rolling along. And I had my camera in this gigantic white Canon lens on the passenger seat. And I rolled up on, they had a roadblock. Wouldn't let us get back in where they were doing some of this stuff for the fire. And so I rolled up to the Park Service Ranger guy, and he rolled down the window. So I rolled down my window, and he looked in the car, and he went, "Oh, we're sending the press up here by the lake. Have a good day." I didn't even have to say anything. He looked at me, he looked at the camera gear, he made an assumption, and I headed too close to where all the press was and got some really good pictures, actually. But you don't even have to do it sometimes. People make up their own minds about what's going on. And in that case, I didn't even have to open my mouth. It was kind of nice. I was kind of wondering the whole time, I was thinking, well, If you ask me for ID, I'm out of luck here. I don't have a press pass or anything. So we promptly went home and printed IDs, and I was now the official photographer of my own company, which was very helpful. Got me into shooting some pictures of a house construction that was on fire and all kinds of stuff. Because if you have a little bit of confidence and a clipboard, you can get a lot of stuff done. It's kind of fun, right? So the in-person stuff, we see a little bit, but, you know, right now the big one is the phishing. That's what people are getting in with. That's where the big breaches are happening. There's also some social media stuff going on, and this is interesting to me too, right? So the clickbait busts me up. So on this one, you got the three examples down there. The guy with the weird goo in the car. And the middle one's a really common one that we see. You know, you won't believe what they caught the cashiers doing at this supermarket. Watch closely, right? Gonna make you want to click on that, because boy, you really want to know. But my favorite's that last one. 5 things you need to know about clickbait. Number 4 will blow your mind. Okay, that's just leveraging that. But again, that's that kind of emotional response. You want to see what's going on. You want to check it out. You want to go click on this link that's going to make you have a very bad day. People do that all the time. Your users are going to do that. Your users are people, they're interested. And they do write these things in such a way that it's very interesting for people, and it gets them involved, right? How many of you guys saw this Super Mario Run for the Android earlier this year? It was not real. It was actually a banking Trojan, which is sort of a bad thing. If you look at the system settings here that it's asking about, directly call phone numbers. Why would Super Mario Run need to do that, right? Read your text messages. Send and receive text messages. This may cost you money. That should be kind of an eye-opener there when you're looking at this sort of thing. But it's out there and it happens. And this was out on some, it was really in the third-party stores, but people are always trying to get some free something. And in the case of this, it was very popular in iOS, and so people couldn't wait for it to come out on Android, and this is what got them. This is what these scammers are doing, is they're dealing with these big events, they're tailoring things towards that, and then exploiting that. We see it quite a bit. We see it in how they're writing the email messages. We're seeing it in all of these various sorts of clickbait sorts of things and online malware too. But the real one, again, is the phishing, vishing, and smishing. Does everyone here know what smishing is? Everybody? SMS phishing? Okay, how many of you guys have got the text message on your phone that says the IRS is going to arrest you? Right? You need to come pay your bill because they're going to come get you. You know, the IRS is very well known for texting people before they knock their door down. Just want to make that very clear. Totally legit, okay? Vishing is the other one. That's voice phishing. Same sort of thing. Coming in, messages, you know, on your phone. Even the ones that, one of the more common ones in the past has been, hey, we need you to reset your voicemail password. You get a robo call. It's asking you for your old one and your new one. It's getting your old one, et cetera, and then you're just kind of rolling along through that. Vishing, though, has gotten a little bit better, and they're starting to combine these into hybrid attacks. So, as we talk about some of these things, CEO fraud is one of the big ones that's going on right now as far as the traditional scam sort of things, right? Way better than the Nigerian prince scam. They're going after big money here. The idea is the bad guys, they spoof your CEO, the president of your company, something like that. They send an email to your HR, or not your HR, that's another one, to your controller, your CFO, something like that. Have you wire money out? And some of these are really, really convincing. You know, it's, hey, we have a new payroll account. We need you to change where the payroll goes to immediately. We need to do it quickly, otherwise all these checks are going to bounce. And off goes the money, and all the paychecks bounce anyways. There's lots of different things like that. What's interesting about this is these scams often start with something very simple. This is one we got where we're at. So they didn't do a whole lot of recon on this since we play in this field, but it simply said, did you get my message? So what this is doing is this is setting these folks up for an emotional fall, all right? This is the CEO of the company who's contacting the controller that just came on board. And when she got this email, the first thing she thought is, oh crap, I missed an email from the CEO. And so it puts them on the defense. It puts them worried. It makes them concerned. Again, it's that emotional trigger that makes people worried. And what happens in a lot of cases is someone will reply to this email and go, no, I didn't. I can't find it. They're already on the fence, and they'll come back with something sometimes very aggressive that's like, I need you to do this right now. It was supposed to be done earlier, and you're playing on those people, right? In our case, she got up and went, dude, what message? And he was like, yeah. So we were able to pick it apart. But this is how this happens. And this happens to the tune, let's see, since 2015, I think the number is $3.4 billion lost to these sorts of scams. So it's really working. It's working well. These guys have figured out how to monetize some of this stuff, and they're doing a real good job with it. As a matter of fact, this is a company called Leone AG. You probably haven't heard of them, but they're actually a huge company. They do wiring harnesses for vehicles and things like that. So what happened in this case is the scammers actually got in to the network through a phishing email, and then they laid low and hung out for a couple of months. And they read the processes and the procedures, and they looked at who has the capability of sending a lot of money, how do we do this, what things are in place here through all the processes. And when they finally got it together and they sent the email, they got 40 million euros, which was about $44 million. That's not bad for a couple months worth of work, right? But it's very complicated. This is not just the email, but also kind of an APT, a hybrid attack here, where they're spending some time in there to get to know how to exploit people. Now, some of these guys are, quick hits and move on, but this is becoming more and more common, especially in the larger organizations. And then it's cousin, the W-2 scam. So when I looked this morning, databreaches.net had 143 cases, reported cases of W-2 fraud, all right? The last number I saw of people affected was over 120,000 people affected. What W-2 fraud is, it's very similar. It's kind of a cousin to that CEO fraud. Our HR director, or somebody's HR director gets an email from the president or someone like that at the organization and says, hey, I need all the W-2s for last year. I need to do some tax stuff with it. And people just can't seem to wait to send this info out. This year's been really bad in the school districts. I've seen a number of school districts have been hit with this. And the bad part about this is for your employees, for your people, the people that work in these organizations, it sucks for them for the next few years. Unlike a credit card number, which has a very, very short lifespan, when you send somebody's W-2, they have their salary information, they have their social security number, their address, everything you need to open accounts or cause problems. And unlike a credit card number that changes, your social does not. Now, for all these people impacted, they have to file forms with the IRS, they have to do stuff with their sheriff's department, they have to do all kinds of stuff, and then they have to get a PIN in order to file in the future. So this is kind of a big, ugly deal for the people, and it's all being done through email. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. As a matter of fact, this is just, these are the ones that we got in the organization here at KnowBe4. And even Snapchat has fallen for this. They did it last year. The 2015 W-2s got sent out. And I had it hit an organization, well, tried to hit an organization I was at. I was the Security and Compliance Lead, GRC, right? Woo, woo, raise the roof. But I was the Security and Compliance Lead. We got an email, our HR director, from the president of the company, and it said, hey, I'm about to get on a plane. I need you to send me these W-2s. I got to work on them when I'm in the air. When we land, I need to send them to the tax guy, right? So looking at this email, there was a sense of urgency. I'm about to get on a plane. There was the, you can't contact me. I'm about to get on a plane. I need them fast. and I have to send them back right when I get back. Well, the thing about this is the email was beautiful. It was the president's email signature block and the whole 9 yards. Now, we think what happened is they got it out of his out-of-office reply. And they copied his whole thing, put it in this email, and spoofed it coming in. It looked very good. Now, my HR director, she kind of went, something's off on this, because he was traveling. He really was. And this was, about the right time. And believe me, I checked, okay, who else has been accessing this calendar? Because it was so well done. But she kind of had that, the spidey sense and said, something right about this. And of course, brought it to our attention. We were able to spot it. But we really ducked a bullet on this. This is a really ugly thing to happen. And the thing that's important to understand here is it's happening to smaller companies too. There was one that they had 7 employees, 5 of them in Massachusetts. They got hit by this, sent the W-2s out, and due to the laws, they actually had to file the breach report and do all the notification and all that kind of stuff to the state as well. So even these small businesses are getting hit by this. So if you work for an organization that comes back to you and says, oh, we don't have anything important, we don't have anything the scammers are after, we don't have anything of value, ask them how much they value their identity. Ask them how much they value the company's or the employee's identity too. So the other thing that's happening now is folks are putting these together. So if you're dumb enough to fall for the W-2 scam, why not go after your money too, right? We're starting to see them double up a lot of these attacks. And not only that, not only are they just going after that, they're also doing hybrid attacks with the types of messaging. Imagine you get that email from the boss that says, I need you to send some money, or I need you to change the account that payroll goes to. And it's followed by a text message, smishing message from him, saying, I sent you an email. I need it to happen ASAP. They're adding legitimacy to that earlier email, and they're adding the urgency as well. So we're seeing them combine these things together to make incredibly effective attacks. And people are losing their shirts over it, right? Individual W-2 records are worth $4 to $20 on the dark web. It's not a huge amount of money, but it is a lot of trouble for the people that lose it. So the attack vectors are almost always a phishing attack. Sometimes you get the phone call or you get something along those lines, but it's almost always a phishing attack. And then combining them, that moves along. I'll tell you right now, LinkedIn is a wonderful place to get all the information you need to know to attack a company. You can build whole org charts off of LinkedIn information, right? And people are far more likely to accept invites and things like that from LinkedIn than, say, Facebook, right? So I'll get I do it myself. I get a LinkedIn invite like, hey, I was 3 rows and 4 seats back from you at this conference, what's up? And, I'll accept that. I wouldn't accept it on Facebook, but we do that. And then what happens is when we get a new job, we blast it out to everybody there. So now they know that you're going into a job. They know that you're going into a job that you're probably a little nervous, you don't know everybody, you want to do a good job because you're in your first 90 days and they can just throw you out like nothing. And they'll prey on that. They'll use that to make your life miserable. So these guys are doing a lot of pardon me, my daughter is over here requesting, apparently, what is it? Oh, the album Hamilton. Actually, I already have that, okay? If I could find my mouse. This is awesome, guys. Thank you for recording this. And yeah, that's okay. Y'all are going to hang out and read that for a little bit, okay? So now we're going to talk about some of the fails, though. Oh, this is going to be awesome. So I love this picture. Yeah, those are outhouses, folks. And they are, yeah, definitely. No. Yeah. In motion too, right? Okay. Sometimes these guys, they fail. And it's kind of funny when they fail. I like it when they fail. Now, some of them aren't quite as bad as this guy. I kind of like this, though. Let's just watch that one again. I mean, look at this. He's not even trying. They're not always this sloppy with their fails, right? But it is kind of amusing. And we see it in the phishing side, too. The phishing emails, most of them are really good these days. They're putting time and effort into these. They're making them really nice. They're making them not suck. The days of the Nigerian scam emails being your biggest issue are gone, right? Most people can pick those out. Those that can't, many times, Walmart's got them covered because they have the little signs up that say, if you don't know someone, please, for the love of all that's holy, don't send money to them. We still see it a little bit, but that's really not the big one here, right? I just love that one, though. That's just awesome. Okay, so like this email here, this is awesome. These guys aren't even trying at this point, right? The subject is your ATM card open attached file. Capitalization changes, and the attachment's not even anything related to an ATM card. Most of the time what they do is they take these emails and they'll at least rename the attachment so it looks like something that you'd want to click on, okay? Part of me kind of feels like anyone that clicks on this deserves it, but I'm trying to cut some people some slack here. And you just kind of wonder, how effective could this really be, right? But okay. This was an interesting one. Who saw this just recently? Right? This is the one where the IRS scammer called the cop, left a message, you need to call me back. This is pretty funny if you listen to the guy. He's having a fun time with this. I'm not going to play the video, but basically this guy is telling him that the way it starts off is he calls this guy back, and the guy says, "Why? I need your address to confirm your case number." He asks him for the case number, and he said, "Oh, I don't have it. Well, I need your address to find your case number for you." So they're already starting to try to pull some information out there. And this cop, he has a lot of fun with this. I kind of like this. Some of the things they said, though, he had till the end of the shift to pay the IRS or they're going to come arrest him. They're going to send the sheriff's department to come arrest him. The guy's like, "Oh, really?" You know, and it's great to watch. It really is. And they used it as a public service announcement to try to show people that this is a load of crap. This isn't real. This is the kind of stuff that goes on. But, you know, for especially the elderly people, come on, guys, I live in Florida. Okay, it's where old people go to die. This, what? A lot of gray in this beard, man. I might as well just get it over with, right? I got one foot in the grave anyways. Yes, very true, very true. But this was interesting, and they used it for good purposes. But if you listen to this video, it's great. The guy's having a lot of good time, fun back with this guy. Obviously, they didn't get any money out of the deal here. And, God, my daughter really wants that, doesn't she? Okay. So, how many of you guys have heard of Lenny? Okay, I got a couple hands up here for Lenny. Lenny's awesome. Lenny's my hero. And I am going to play some audio on this because we have a little bit of time. Lenny is a series of voice prompts designed to mess with telemarketers. Okay, works great with scammers too. And I took this little clip, and I cut it back from 11 minutes to about 4 minutes. But it gives you an idea what's going on. You got to remember, this is all automated voice scripting. It's written in Asterisk, I think. It's available for like MyPBX and some of this sort of stuff. But Lenny's Lenny's funny. I like Lenny. If we can do the audio, please.
Hello, this is Lenny.
Hello, can I speak to...
Sorry, I can barely hear you there.
Okay, well, sir, I'm calling you from online technical department, and this call is about your computer.
Yes.
Hello? Well, we're receiving some reports about your computer on your mailing address, from your mailing address, and the address is...
They cut that part out.
That's your right?
Oh, good. Yes.
Hello? Okay, well, sir, and these reports are stating that your computer has accidentally downloaded some viruses and some Trojan files from the internet without your knowledge.
The
So
computer
when
did
was
it.
the last time you turned on your computer?
Oh, yes. Someone did say last week. No, someone did call last week about the same thing. Was that
Yes,
you?
one of my technicians called you in regards to your computer last
Guy's
week.
pretty smooth. Got to give him that.
Yes. Sorry, what was your name again?
My name is Jerry Jones. Sir, I told you to get next to the computer now
Let's skip forward
and
a little
turn it
here.
on, okay?
Sorry, again.
Sir, I told you to get next to the computer now and turn it on. Okay?
This is like 4 or 5 minutes into it still, okay? So
Can you get next to the computer now?
Could you say that again, please? Well, here's the thing, because the last time that someone called up and spoke to me on the phone, I got in quite a bit of trouble from the people here because I went for something that I shouldn't have. I probably shouldn't be telling you that. But, yes, I think my eldest, Rachel, she
he's just rambling.
wouldn't speak to me for
I
a
love
week.
this.
Now, that happens, but that really hurt. And sometimes in family, these things are quite important.
Yeah.
They're more important than any,
Yeah,
job
correct.
or phone call or whatever it is.
okay.
My third eldest, Larissa, she, I think I mentioned Larissa before. Yes, she,
I'm so sorry.
she says that I should be going for something like this, but it's just a matter of what is most appropriate for the time, and I guess whatnot.
And there's ducks.
Sorry, could you just hang on for 1 second here? Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Quite important, they're more important than.
So this is now still going on more and more. I don't know where
Are
the
you
ducks
mad? Are you mad? Are you
He
mad?
finally loses it.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Well,
Are you a mad person?
Since you've put it that way, I mean, you've been quite friendly and straightforward with me here. It's something that I've been told that I should be looking at.
Good one.
My third eldest, Larissa, she, I think I mentioned Larissa before. Yes, she says that
You shut up. You shut up. You shut up. Shut up, okay?
like this.
And now the guy's
Just a
finally
matter of
completely unhinged, right?
What is most appropriate.
This is 11 minutes into this call, dealing
Sorry,
with
could you
automated
just
voice
hang on?
prompts. This is classic. I love Lenny. What's really cool about Lenny is you can hear these things happen over and over again with the same voice prompts and different organizations that are trying to sell him stuff. All kinds of good stuff come in there. And Lenny's got some phone numbers. There's like a SIP number too, or a phone number that you can like conference in and just kind of hang out. So if you know that it's a telemarketer calling you back, you can conference them in real quick and then pick up the phone and let them play with Lenny. This is awesome though. And it's awesome for more than one reason. It wastes their time. So that whole 11 minutes that he's screwing around with this guy, he's not actually getting other people's money, right? I still love the ducks. I don't know what the deal with the ducks is, but that's brilliant. But there's a whole mess of these if you guys want to watch them. They're fun when you're like hanging out and bored and want to see something. So that was Lenny. So we've talked about CEO fraud. We talked about all that stuff. Now, how do you defend against this sort of stuff, right? Because it's happening. We know it's happening. We see it's happening. I've told you it's happening. Therefore, it must be happening, right? A couple of things you want to do. Your email's the way they're getting in, so you want to check some of that. See if your domain's spoofable. Far too many are. We did a study, looked at about, I don't remember how many email servers it was a number of them. About 83% of them were configured in such a way that they allowed spoofing from the outside, so people could say that they're somebody and they're not. That's a key right there, right? This isn't super high-tech stuff, but it matters. So the SPF records, DMARC, DKIM, those sorts of things will authenticate the server or say, hey, this is supposed to be coming from them, or warn you or do something like that. Make sure you have those things in place so you know if something's coming from an unauthorized mail server to your server from your domain. Another one, simple 101, check your policies. All right, you should really have a policy where if somebody's going to transfer out, all of the employees' social security numbers, email and even a text message shouldn't be the final authority for that. Have a pick up the phone first policy. So something's going to happen. Your CEO, your executives, they all need to be aware that you're going to do this so they don't get mad. But you get their buy-in, and when something like this comes in, you tell them, I am not sending any money, any records, anything that could potentially damage the company without getting on the phone with you first. And if everybody's in agreement with that, you can make a huge dent in what's going on here. Now, getting your leadership involved can be a little tricky. So you need to make sure the leadership is aware of the threats. If they know that this is going on, they know that they're targets, most of the time they'll get it, they'll have that aha moment eventually, and you can get them to agree to something like that. That's why you want to educate even your top leadership, even if you can't train them fully. That's how you get that buy-in. That's also how you get good policies to which you can make good processes and procedures by. If you don't have their buy-in, everyone in marketing is going to be downloading Spotify because they have to have it to do their job. But if your boss realizes how bad that is, you're going to have a much better chance of blocking it. The other thing that comes in is ransomware. How many of you guys have heard of ransomware? One or two of you, right? How many of you guys have actually been hit by ransomware? Oh, just one? Really? Wow. That blows my mind. All right, how many people know somebody who's been hit by ransomware? It's a few more hands there. Okay, be glad it's not you. Ransomware's taken off. They figured out how to make a lot of money doing this stuff, and it's exploded. This was first quarter of 2016. You know, the first one that we saw back here in 2013 was CryptoLocker, and that's kind of still around. It hasn't quite died yet. But if you look at the growth, here in that first quarter, there were 14 major variants of ransomware in 2016. It's huge. Why is this happening so much? Well, users can't wait to click on these links. So within the first hour of receiving an email campaign, a phishing campaign, 55% of the users have clicked on it. If we could get users to click on our regular emails that quickly, we could change the world, right? Okay, but no, they're going to throw those aside and go after the really nasty ones first, okay? What's important to know about this is it's because the scammers are using things that are making it enticing for them. Your email talking about whatever is not very enticing to everyone. It smells like work. When you send an email to a bunch of people that says, hey, half off your iPhone 7 regardless of your carrier, they can't wait to click on that. We've seen that. We do that in our platform, and we see how quickly the feedback is on that and how quickly they're going after these things. If you guys ever do run phishing campaigns, try a couple of them. Try one that's like really big. Right now would be a great one to talk about, like Syria something, because of the attacks that just happened. There's a major event that happened in the world, and people are tuned into that, be it one side or another. They're tuned into that. They're wanting to click on it. So send one of those and send another one saying, I need you to research this for me and see which one gets clicked on the most and quickest. I guarantee it's going to be the other one, right? So ransomware is spreading because of this, because it's just happening so fast. Key takeaways from this was 2016 versus our 2014 surveys. And key takeaways on this is it's almost doubled how many organizations have been impacted, from 20% to 38% in 2 years. It's pretty significant. The two top things that everyone says will save their bacon: backups and training. Train your people. Don't click on stupid things. If they don't click on stupid things, you're good. If they do click on stupid things, backups are going to save your bacon. I love bacon, in case you don't notice. So yeah, again, train your users. Weapons-grade backups. I want to talk about that for a minute. Because backups are important, but we don't give them enough time. We assume that they're running. But how many of you guys actually do a full restore once or twice a year just to make sure that your backups are actually doing it? Didn't you raise your hand about getting hit with ransomware? Yeah. There was a police department just recently got hit with it, lost 8 years of evidence, okay? Now, a lot of these cases have been closed and moved on, and they actually came out and said, well, we have it all in paper, and so the underlying tone is some poor sucker intern is going to spend the first couple of years here re-scanning all these documents. But they lost 8 years of evidence because they didn't have good backups. I've seen so many times that they fail in the backups. Or, I've seen this one over and over again. The backups are connected to the network. They're on some share on the network, so they get encrypted. There was another police department, same thing happened to them. They got hit and they came out and said, we are not going to pay that ransom, we got backups. About a day later, they said, yeah, those were encrypted. So, you got to keep them out there. There's that 3-2-1 rule in backups, 3 copies, 2 different types of media, one of them off-site. That's to prevent some of these things. And don't fool yourself and think that replication is a backup either, all right? It's wonderful that you have a hot site over here and you're log shipping and you're replicating, but that's not backups either. There was Licking County, Ohio, I think it was the one that got hit with this. The county auditor's quote was, "At least the clocks are still working." That gives you any idea. 1,000 machines taken down. They were having to log 911 calls by hand. What could go wrong there, right? Ironically enough, it was Licking County. So my groan-worthy joke is the clocks took a licking but kept on ticking. Right? Yeah. I'll be here through tomorrow, folks. Okay. Okay. So. With that one there, I mean, it's the same sort of thing, but they got hit, and the other quote was, the backups kicked off after the infection, and so it just infected all the backups. I'm going, no, you replicated things. That wasn't a backup. If you read between the lines, you see that happen. Learn from other people's horror stories with this. The other 101 stuff, segment the network. There's no reason the receptionist should get to a SQL Server login screen. But it happens. It happened in a company I was in. I was assured by the security or the network engineer that everything was on VLANs and everything was nice and enclaved and all that, except he had all of the VLANs routing to all the VLANs. That did nothing. Okay. Principle of least privilege will help you too, because typically ransomware kicks off in the context of the user that downloaded it. So if they have the rights to read and write that file or modify that file, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get encrypted. If they don't, then a lot less worries there, right? SIMs, IDS, that sort of stuff, looking for indicators of compromise, things reaching out to their command and control channels, and then patching. So we as security professionals have gotten better at patching the OS. We still suck at patching apps, and we really suck at patching browsers. And those kinds of problems, this is where things like the malware is leveraging. Most of the stuff isn't 0 days. And for people that worry so much about 0-day exploits on their stuff, think about it a little bit. Are you really important enough that somebody's going to burn a 0-day on you? Most of the way people are getting in is unpatched things. Hey, look, it says my time's up. This is what's happening. So keep up with your patches. Now, defense in depth is what you need. You need everything. Again, on the top, you need your policies to be strong. You need to train your leadership to keep those policies strong. You need to train your users to be able to look at an email. It's not hard to look at these emails. Every scam and con has tells. And a lot of time, A lot of times they're right there, but your users don't know how to spot these because they've never been taught. This is 22 different things you can look at. Did I get an email from the HR department at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and I know they don't send that? Something may be wrong. That's not too hard for your users to get. They need to be able to spot these things. It's easy to teach them to do that, believe it or not. And then there's the 4 basic steps that we find work. You do a baseline test in your organization, find out where you're at on your click rate. Fish some folks, see where you're starting. It's eye-opening. We do a free test for some folks, anyone that wants it, and it's very eye-opening. Sometimes we've seen upwards 35% click rates on some of these emails, and we're not even hitting them with the really hard ones. So it can definitely be a little spooky too. Train your users, then fish them. Keep doing that to keep them thinking about, hey, these emails that are coming in are trying to get me. You also want to message it in such a way that they understand that at home they can get hit by ransomware. Makes a big difference in how they listen and how they react and how much time you spend cleaning up malware on your network. And then you want to see the results. If they stop clicking on things, you need to make them harder. And that's where it gets a lot of fun, right? When it comes to training them, don't stick them in a room and feed them a bunch of stuff, coffee and donuts, and do what I'm doing to you, which is death by PowerPoint. They're not going to like that. They're not going to remember this in a year. You're going to get owned between then. And make it coordinated. Train them and fish them. Again, big difference if you follow up with that phishing. And this kind of shows. This is 300,000 of our users over the course of a year. They start off, on average of that 300,000 users, about 16% click rate. You train them, it drops down. Now, if you don't follow up, if you just let it go, it's going to go right back up. That's going to look like a V or a U right there. But by continuing to fish them, by continuing to have them think every time, hey, is this one of those crafty IT guys or security guys sending me one of these crappy phishing emails? If you continue to do that, it drove it down to 1.2% at the end of a year. It's 300,000 people. It's a 93% reduction in clicks. That's a pretty significant risk reduction, right? This works. There are some tools out there that you can use to do it yourself. If you're in a small shop, it's not that hard to keep track of. Obviously, we like our platform for doing it. But this is all stuff that you can do on your own, with your own users, to help you out. And then finally, we have a bunch of resources. They're free resources for people if you want to check them out. Again, things like we have a ransomware simulator. There are 10 different ways that it encrypts some files that it creates, so we're not blowing up your own files. But the idea is to test your endpoint protection, to see if it can see the heuristic actions that are going on with that. We found a lot of people need to tune their endpoint protection, and it helps them a lot. So this is free. We can do a security or a phishing test for you. USB test. Who doesn't want to feel like James Bond, right? Throw files on USB drives, throw them in the dryer a little bit, rough them up, throw some old keys on them, toss them around the office, and see who picks them up and plugs them in. At Black Hat, they talked about, they did a deal at University of Illinois Champaign, I think. They dropped about 300 USB drives, and something like 98% were picked up, and almost 50% were plugged in, and they opened the attachments. These are your users, folks, or future users. Still remarkably effective. So check these out. See if there's anything there that can help you. Again, these are all free. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. But these can definitely help you with your security side. So, given that, I'm wrapping up. Any questions? Oh, here we go.
You talked about that Leone AG app where the attackers were in for a long time. They learned how the company works, internal processes and workflows and stuff like that. Do you guys ever have any engagements or operations that you run where you have essentially an unlimited scope like that?
We don't do red team testing, okay? Our forte is simply training the users to kind of spot these things to keep that from happening, okay? We hear these stories, we see these stories. We get the calls a lot from organizations that get hit with ransomware, and they're like, oh my gosh, it needs these Bitcoins, and I need to come up with them. I have, 7 hours or something stupid, and there's no way to do it. So we get these panic calls, we get those sorts of things. But we don't actually do those engagements. That would be an awesome one to do, though. Can you imagine spending a couple months running around? I mean, you could totally pwn everything there. I mean, yeah. Is it okay? You spend a lot of time like that on those?
We do a lot of social recon, and we do spend a lot of time looting stuff like wikis and Jiras and stuff like that.
Yeah, the outside stuff. Yeah, that's definitely. So what do you think about my thoughts on LinkedIn and being able to build a profile on LinkedIn?
I don't know. Like, I mean, LinkedIn's okay. I actually get a lot of information from like combing like GitHub repositories, right? So you dump a repo and then you programmatically siphon every commit out, like historically, and you find AWS keys for days. Like I'm like drowning in AWS keys.
Nice. All right, any other questions here? Good. Oh, go ahead.
Mine was actually about the email-based scams. So do you have any data from companies that have correctly implemented DKIM, SPF, DMARC stuff, and like their success versus like failure of detecting email-based scams and like thwarting them?
Well, the thing about that is, you can do different things with the implementations like that. You can either have it warn, you can have it flag things and put up, external email, you can do all that kind of stuff, or you can just dump them. I actually don't have a lot of good information based on how effective that is. I know it's effective, but I can't give any numbers. It'd be like, 98.2% of statistics are made up on the fly. It'd be like one of those numbers. I can tell you something, it ain't gonna mean anything, but I do know that the people that have gone through the trouble of doing that, and it's not super easy, but the people that have gone through the troubles of doing that have seen some success with it. So, sir?
So kind of a follow-up, in addition to GitHub, other things, doing a LinkedIn audit, doing a job posting audit, because, especially IT jobs, you'll see a listing of like, oh, I see that you're, XYZ shop or whatever, do you guys do audits of that information that's leaking out as part of the platform you're offering, or is that something that you think should be an internal-only sort of exercise?
Well, again, we don't do pen tests. One of the things we do is we do have a service where we kind of look on the internet. We have some guys that spend a little bit of time looking for companies and how often, say, their email addresses are out there. We call it an email exposure check. How many email addresses are out there on the public web that can be found for their organization and their domain, who could be targeted, because companies a lot of times don't realize how much of that information is out there. That's kind of as far as we go with that. In our organization, we really focus on making the training to, again, keep people from clicking on things in the first place. We get a lot of this ancillary information. Another thing we do have is a fish alert button. If your users, it's free. If your users want to like report a phishing email or they're curious about it, it goes in, I think it's Office 365, Google, and Outlook. All they have to do is click a button on there. It wraps it up, headers and all, which is nice, so you don't have to go back and get them to attach it, and fires it off to somebody in your organization. They can also CC us if they choose to. Right now, we're seeing about 1,800 emails a day, or roughly 9,000 or more per week that we're kind of looking at for these phishing trends and stuff like that. That's really where our focus is. All right, anyone else? I think I'm standing between us and maybe lunch. Oh.
So you brought up Lenny. I also wanted to introduce people to Jolly Roger, which is kind of similar.
Nice. Nice. Good stuff when you're bored, huh? Jolly Roger Telephone Company. All right. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up then. Thank you, guys.